All right. Hi, everyone. See you all popping up on my screens. Welcome, welcome. This is our mentorship meetup today. And I'm so glad that you could join us today. And big thank you to our mentorship team and our mentorship presenters for hosting this. We're going to be taking questions through the chat today. So we're going to ask you to please stay muted throughout the entire presentation. And when you have questions, just type them into the chat. Our lovely moderator will be reading them and asking them of our panelists. So we'll go ahead and get started, and I'm going to turn it over to Robin Jones.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm Robin Jones, and I am on the mentorship committee. And we're excited to have everybody here today and just gain a little insight about the SAQA mentorship program. We take applications, which just started May 1st, and we will take applications through the month of May. And then our committee reviews the applications and we match mentors to mentees. And then those pairs spend up to 12 months working together, creating goals and working to move forward on their artistic goals. As has already been said, we'll take questions through the chat box. And if we don't get to answering all the questions today, our committee will work really hard to get back with you and answer your questions. Most of the information about the mentorship program is available on the website. It's a member benefit, and you can search for mentorship program. And there's a long explanation about both mentors and mentees, and that's where you also find the application. The application will also be put into the chat box right now. And I don't want to waste any more time because we have a short window of time, and I want to introduce Lenny Van Eyck, and she is going to moderate and introduce our panelists today. Go, Lenny.
Thank you so much, Robin. Thank you. I'm delighted to be moderating today's panel. It's exciting to see so many people on the call this afternoon, or this evening, or morning, or wherever you are in the world. Welcome to everyone. We have 97 people on the call, so that's impressive. My name is Lenny Van Eyck. I'm a volunteer member of the mentorship program team for SAQA, and I'm based in northern New Jersey, near to New York City. We could have done a presentation on the program, but since there is so much information on the website already, and I will put a link to that information in the chat as we go through the session, but we thought let's hear about the experience for being a mentor or a mentee directly from people who are in it and from the perspective from both mentor and mentee. So we have 3 panelists today, and thank you for joining us and welcome. Let me do quick introductions. First, we have Sue Bleiweiss. She is a fiber artist and wildlife photographer. Interesting combination. And she has been a mentor in the program a few times now. She's based in Massachusetts. Then we have Deborah Kay, who is a first-time mentor in the cohort that started this January. She's an art quilter, and she's also the regional rep for, I think she's based in Arizona. And Samantha Boot is a textile artist and quilter and a current mentee in the program. She's based in the UK, and her mentor is Deborah Kay. So Deborah and Samantha are working together since January. So welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining and sharing your experience. I'll be asking the panel a few questions, and we will also try, as Robin said, to include as much as we can questions from the audience. So please type them in, and Robin will be monitoring those. But let me start for the panel with the really kind of basic question, like what made you decide to apply for the mentorship program, and how did you know that you were ready for this? And let me start with Sue, because you have been in the program a few times as a mentor. What made you come back?
I find it very rewarding to help others along their creative path where I can. I know when I started out many moons ago, I sort of had to figure everything out on my own. And I find a great deal of satisfaction in helping to ease that learning curve for others. It makes me feel good to help somebody else along the way.
That's really wonderful, and we are very grateful for it. So Deborah, what about you?
I actually applied to be a mentee in the program, and as it turns out, I was asked to be a mentor, just probably because of my application and some of my experiences. It worked out that I could be a mentor. Surprisingly enough, it's very enjoyable.
Excellent. Well, we're so happy to hear that. And yes, as you know, the committee gets to work to review applications. We do look at things very, specifically, and everybody who filled out an application to find sort of the best matches. And so, yeah, we're very happy how this worked out. Samantha, what made you decide to become part of the mentorship program?
It was a surprise benefit of my SAQA membership. I'm very new to SAQA. I joined in October, I think, and then found the mentorship scheme. And I had in my head been looking for a mentor somehow, because I'm trying to level up my creative practice, and had so many ideas that I just needed a path. And Deborah's really helped me sort of see the way through. So that's been great.
Wonderful. That sounds wonderful. Let me stick with you for a moment, Samantha. As you've been in the program now since January, how has participation influenced your own artistic practice?
It's made it more regular, I would say. It is now a practice rather than a bit here and a bit there. It's definitely allowed me, Deborah's helped me to see those steps that I mentioned, to take me to the next. You have these great ideas, don't you? And then going back to actually starting from the bit that you need to start at to get to the next step. That's what Deborah's helped me with, and her experience has really helped me to see that clearly.
Yeah. That's great. And yes, ideas, we are all full of it, right? But then
Yeah.
the execution of those ideas. So Deborah and Sue, the same question for you, but maybe more through the lens of what you're getting out. If there has been any changes in your own practice as a result of being a mentor, or specifically as to how it has influenced you. And Deborah, do you want to start?
Sure. One of the things that I wasn't sure that I could be a mentor, to be honest. When I first agreed to do it, I thought, well, how am I going to help somebody, with on their path? And I think the biggest benefit was that Sam already had some ideas in mind about where she wanted to go. And I think that was critical to how we were able to craft our next steps together.
Yeah, I think that's really important, right? As a mentee as well, that
Yep.
you don't come in with the expectation that the mentor is going to solve all your problems and and is going to sort of swing their magic wand and then everything's going to happen. So Sue, you already talked a little bit about the fact that it was so rewarding. Any other thoughts around this particular?
Yeah, no, I've worked over the years. I've worked with many. I've mentored from probably up over 24 now, and
Wow.
So I've done this for a long time, and I've mentored everywhere along the scale of creative path, from beginners just starting out to more established artists. And every time I do it, it's a different experience. which keeps it fresh for me as well. And it's exciting because it's, you know, it's something very small that I can do, but to know that I'm playing even a small role on somebody's creative journey is, you know, it's a nice feeling.
Yes, and I have to note that you know, Sue has kindly agreed this year for this cohort to take on 2 mentees. So I mean, that is a big commitment, and we are very, very grateful for it, because it allowed us to, you know, have more people participate as a
I've actually got 3, actually. I'm doing 3 because I've carried over the one that I had from
you carried over the
before,
one you
so.
had from, okay, so there you go, 3. That is a big commitment, and again, we're very grateful for that. Talking about commitment, I mean, it is a big commitment, right? Both for a mentor and a mentee. One should not go into that lightly and say, oh yeah, sure, I could use some, you know, some pushing and shoving, or, you know, and maybe I, you know, as an accountability partner, I could have somebody. It would be nice to have somebody who keeps me on track. But you have to really be willing to set some formal goals and to really work towards those and think about the things that you want to accomplish and to achieve. So from each of your perspective, can you talk about the level of commitment and the time that one should expect to invest in this? I can imagine a lot of people would love to know that. Samantha, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. For me, I work a practically full-time job in the daytime. I work in a school, and so I have a young family and pets, so my time is stretched. But because of this, it's really helped me to carve out and see it as an investment in myself. So I have a couple of hours of an evening where I now dedicate to my sewing and stitching. And so it's really hard. I was thinking, you put the question to me before we started, and it's more a willingness to invest in myself, and rather than to say, oh, I have to do so many hours a week. It's not like that. It's become more of a lifestyle change than a chore, if that makes sense.
Right. And yes, if you think about it in amount of hours, that is kind of like thinking about it as something you have to do. Right. Yeah. And this should more be something that you really, really want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I sometimes say to Deborah, I haven't done much this time, and then I'll have an hour or so and I will just blitz it and just get loads of stuff done. And yeah.
What about as a mentor, Deborah? What's your experience so far from this time?
In terms of commitment, I think for me, I look forward to finding out what Sam's been up to, and because she has clear goals, I can always check in with her and find out where she is in her process. I do spend time searching through the internet for little things that I think might be beneficial to her, little words of wisdom, maybe a news article or a YouTube video or something that I've run across, or another artist that can inspire Sam, because I don't do what Sam does. It's not my thing. So I always look for people that I think can inspire Sam.
That's so interesting, right? That to hear you say that, because I think there sometimes is a bit of a misconception that the mentor and the mentee have to be working sort of in the same kind of style or techniques, or you know, that their work has to be similar in a way. And personally, I don't think that at all. And you are the living example that that is not at all the case. What's your experience with that, Sue?
So, you know, like I said, every time I work with someone, it's different. It's no two mentee experiences for me have ever been the same. And what is interesting though is that they, more often than not, they'll come to the first meeting and they'll have what they think is their list of goals that they want to accomplish. And then during the course of conversation and a look at what type of work they're doing and what their long range goals are, those goals actually usually tend to shift a bit because it's, you know, it's not something where you go in and you say, okay, it's not usual to go in and say, well, I have this goal in mind, and then just focus completely on this goal, because underneath that goal is a whole bunch of other stuff that has to happen first.
Yeah.
So, so typically what I do is I'll meet somebody first and get a sort of a general overview of what it is that they want to accomplish, where they are in their studio practice, where they are on their creative journey. You know, are they at the beginning? Are they, you know, are they more established? And then do a little bit of a deeper dive under, okay, well, let's take a really good look at what it is you want to accomplish in the next 12 months or then even the next 3 months, and then figure out what has to happen and actually to get to that goal. So, but it's always different. Every partnership has been completely different. And I think as far as the level of commitment goes, people underestimate, I find, especially people at the beginning of the journey, creative journey, how much time it takes to get from A to B. And I've worked with several in the past where the intention was great. You know, everybody goes into it with the best of intention. I'm committed to this. I'm going to do this, and I'm you know, this is what I want to do. And then you get 3 months in and it's like, maybe I bit off a little bit more than I could chew and I wasn't ready for this. And that's absolutely fine. It's just everybody's in a different place on a different path on their journey. And sometimes you get into it and you think, and you discover, well, maybe it's not right, but at least you give it a shot and see. And that in itself teaches you a lot about where you are and where you want to go. So.
No, that's really valuable and helpful advice. I think it also is a good reminder for anybody, you know, in our audience who may be thinking about, you know, joining the program or applying for a spot in the program, that you know, think about it from that perspective, right? Think about it from the perspective: how much commitment can I make? How much time do I have? And how clear are my goals? Somebody who's really at the very, very beginning may not be ready for that experience and may have to look more for somebody to work with, you know, just a friend who holds them accountable to take certain steps or to take some classes. And so there, of course, is a range of places where people are in their journey. But Sue, to stay with you, what would you say from your experience as you have mentored many people? What are some of the main characteristics, both from a mentor perspective, maybe specifically for you, that you think are most important? Like anybody who's considering, well, could I be a good mentor? What would you think are the things that they, you know, would be most important for them to have?
Well, you know, I mean, first and foremost, you have to want to be helpful. You know, I mean, you have to be somewhat flexible in that you have to, and I say this because I've done this with several different, over this course of several different mentorships, is in that you have to tailor your response and how you deal with people based on what the mentee needs. So there has to be a little bit of flexibility within your own personality to be able to do that. And I think you have to be, at the core of it, you just have to be enthusiastic. You have to want to help somebody else along their journey. I mean, that would be the first and foremost qualification. And you have to, you know, have a certain level of expertise in whatever area that, you know, you're going to mentor somebody in. or experience really.
So Samantha, from the perspective of a mentee, now you're in it a few months, what would you say, anybody who's thinking of maybe wanting to have a mentor, to apply for a spot in the program, what would you say to them in terms of what they need to think about? Like, are they ready? What are the characteristics they need to be thinking about?
I think that the willingness to invest in themselves, invest time and efforts, definitely, because without that, you're just sort of saying talking the talk and not walking the walk. I think, and just to sort of, for us, our mentorship thing is almost two-way a little bit sometimes. We both share experiences with each other and we both share things with each other. So that, like Sue was saying, it's that sort of willingness to help and willingness to listen as well. And
it's
to
a two-way street, right? It is not sort of, mentoring is not something that's being done to you. Mentoring,
no, right.
It is a relationship that develops, right? And
absolutely.
I see you nodding, Deborah, and you want to add anything to that?
Yes, absolutely, because we have shared little tidbits on natural dyeing fabric or a walk in the park kind of thing. So there's little things that come up that are not necessarily business related, but in terms of moving the process forward, the mentee then can look at, how do you see that bird in the field? Or how do you see that shadow? So just using that as a base for conversation seems to be where we go with it.
Yeah, wonderful. So I have tons of more questions, but at this point, I'd like to ask Robin to maybe see if there are some questions that from the audience that we haven't answered yet, that haven't come up yet. You're muted, Robin.
How about the frequency of meetings?
The frequency of meetings, that's a good one. Who would like to chime in on that?
I meet with my mentees once a month via Zoom for an hour. And at the end of each meeting, we set up the next meeting, so it goes on the calendar. And then the rest of the time, I usually just communicate with them via email. Sometimes I don't hear from them at all. And sometimes we'll exchange several emails. They may be working on something I need some help with, and so they'll drop an email. So,
Sam
or Deborah, anything different in your practice together?
For us, it's been every 2 weeks, and on a Sunday, well, morning for me and afternoon for Sam, because she's in England. And so that has worked out really well, because I think mainly Sam's schedule has worked out. In other words, she has had these chunks of time that she's been able to devote to getting some certain things done. And whether she needs a little nudge or not, probably not, because she's got this deadline in her own mind that she wants to keep. So we've just been checking in every couple weeks. She will send me photographs of work that she's been working on, usually a day or two before our meeting, so I have a chance to see them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I just saw a question sort of fly by on the chat about the setup, and I just want to just state at this point for everybody on the audience that the setup of the meetings is between the mentor and the mentee. SAQA does not get involved in that. Once you are paired, once you are a match, then you have each other's contact details, and it's totally up to you when and how you meet. If you do Zooms or telephone calls or whatever. But
yeah,
Robin,
I just wanted to add in that from other gatherings that we've had, people have used Dropbox, they've used telephone calls, they've used emails. There's so you kind of find between the two of you what is your method. Did you guys go over any specific goals, like an example of a goal? We've had some questions about that. Like,
Well, it
I think
depends
Sam
on.
can answer that too.
Oh.
Sam is
Definitely.
looking for her SMART targets that I wrote.
Okay.
In my little booklet I've got here. I haven't committed it to memory.
So Sue, you were, whilst Sam is looking for that, I saw you started to say something.
Yeah, well, I mean, goals, it really, it ranges depending on the person, but it's been everything from, I've had some that are, want to submit articles for publishing. So there may be a writing goal in there. There may be submission goals, to write up so many proposals for something. It may be specifically quote related in that I'm going to find an image that I want to work with and, you know, find 3 and then talk about it and narrow it down. It could be, I want to make, you know, accomplished. So I want to make 3 quilts this year as part of a series. I want to figure out what kind of a series I want to work in. There's a huge range of goals for, you know, it really depends on the person. So,
but that should give our audience a little bit of an idea as to what, you know, what kind of goals come up. I think we have room for another question.
I found my SMART targets if you wanted to hear it.
okay, go. Yeah.
Targets.
So I have in my head when I started, I wanted to exhibit more, I wanted to teach, and I wanted to do more writing. And we decided that I needed to have a SMART target to make those, something needed to happen first. And that was, we decided to create a body of work. So my SMART target was I will create a body of 5 textile pieces on a theme of, and it was circles in the end, by the end of May. So that was my
An example. Yeah.
SMART target.
Very good. Some of the questions that are coming in now are questions that are actually not ones that the panel would be able to answer. So there are things about established guidelines and can you be a mentee twice, and some of these other technical questions. We will address some of those, but in a different platform. Like we'll send you an email.
Excellent. Yes, we would love to have, you know, time for everything, but we only have this half hour, and we are nearing sort of the cutoff for that half hour. So, you know, I'm afraid this is going to be all that we have time for today. But we will get back on some of the other questions that have been put in the chat. I want to thank our panelists, Sue and Deborah and Samantha, for joining us and sharing your words of wisdom. I also want to thank you all for joining and your interest in the program, and specifically also I want to thank behind the scenes Lucy and Daisy from SAQA, who have been providing the tech support for today's discussion here. But before we close, I am going to hand it over to Susan Callahan, who is the Mentorship Program Coordinator, and to say a few closing comments before we leave. Susan.
Hi there, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Lenny, for putting this. Lenny actually did this all by herself. Well, not really, but she did an amazing job. And all the panelists. I'm very lucky to work with these women. So the SAQA Mentor Program is open now for applications. We'll take applications for mentees and mentors until the end of May. And I'm the person, if somebody asks, well, who's in charge of it now? I don't want to say I'm in charge of it, but I am the coordinator. And we will do everything we can to do matching. If you want to contact us, you go to the mentorship benefit on the SAQA website, and you'll find links. And it's open now. The next program, the next cohort, and we do this in cohorts, and so far we've done it twice a year. The next cohort will begin in early July. So we take applications, and then the team goes through all of them. We do matching. And then we make introductions and we do a launch call, and then you're on your own. And so thank you everybody for coming, and I look forward to seeing you in some of the other events throughout this conference.
Thank you.